Hey, I want you to pause for a second. I want you to forget the headlines, forget the stereotypes, forget the noise, and I want you to ask yourself one honest question. Why are people across the West, doctors, students, ex-pastors, athletes, moms, choosing Islam? Let me tell you something. This isn't about blind faith. This isn't about being born into a tradition. This is about people choosing Islam deliberately, thoughtfully, after study, questions, sometimes even resistance. Why? Let's break it down. No fluff, just facts and insight. Let's get honest here. People are tired of surface level living, the rituals that are empty, the traditions that feel hollow, the answers that never really answer anything. And when someone's looking for meaning, real meaning, they don't want a sugar-coated answer. They want something that speaks to the soul. That's where Islam is coming in strong, especially in the West. You see, one of the biggest reasons Islam is growing isn't because of pressure or persuasion. It's because when people encounter it, they recognize something that's been missing: authenticity. There's a raw honesty in Islam. It doesn't pretend to be trendy. It doesn't shift its values with the culture. It offers a way of life that's consistent, rooted, and deeply personal. And in a world where people are constantly performing, especially online, that kind of spiritual sincerity hits hard. Take prayer, for example. In Islam, prayer is not just something you do once a week in a group. It's 5 times a day, just you and God. No priest, no choir, no emotional buildup, just a quiet, disciplined act of connection. You face the same direction, you say the same words taught over 1,400 years ago, and every move has meaning, down to the way you raise your hands, bow, and prostrate. It's not performance, it's presence. And people who discover Islam often say it's the first time they've ever felt like they were really talking to God, not talking about God. And that's just one part of it. Fasting during Ramadan, that's not about starving. That's about control, self-restraint, mind control, soul control. For 30 days, Muslims all over the world shut off autopilot. They stop eating, drinking, even saying certain things from dawn till sunset. And it resets everything. It's not some random detox. It's deliberate. It's about realizing how strong you are when you rely on something greater than yourself. It's about putting spirituality back in the driver's seat. This resonates especially with people in the West, where the pace of life is constant, the expectations are crushing, and the spiritual life, if it exists at all, often feels disconnected. People are exhausted. They've been told to chase happiness in productivity hacks, shopping carts, or wellness apps, but they're still coming up empty. And so when they find a system that tells them, hey, your creator knows you better than anyone, submit to that, and you'll finally find peace, that feels like a radical breath of fresh air. And here's what else is striking. The structure of Islam is liberating, not limiting. From the outside, it might look rigid. Pray at these times, eat these foods, dress this way. But once people start living it, they say the opposite. They say it simplifies everything. You don't waste energy on guesswork. You don't feel like you're reinventing your values every week. You live with purpose. You walk with clarity. So when we say Islam is growing in the West, this is a big part of why. People aren't just finding a religion, they're finding alignment between heart and action, between intention and behavior. And in a time where so much feels fake or forced, that kind of authenticity, it's not just refreshing, it's transformed. Let's be real. Loneliness is an epidemic in the West. People are more connected than ever through social media, but at the same time, they're more isolated than ever in real life. You can have 500 friends online and still feel like no one really knows you. That sense of community we all crave, for a lot of people, it's just not there anymore. And that's one of the most powerful reasons Islam is growing in the West. It offers something people are desperate for: belonging. Now, this isn't just casual socializing. This is deep, meaningful, day-to-day support. When someone becomes Muslim, they're often surprised by how quickly they're embraced. not just with a welcome message, but with real connection. People offer rides to the mosque, meals get delivered, strangers become like family. It's a level of care and presence that many people haven't experienced before, sometimes not even in their own biological family. And it's consistent. It's not once a year on a holiday. It's every Friday at the mosque. It's every Ramadan night at the iftar table. It's every time you say salam to a fellow Muslim, even one you've never met before. Think about that. There's a built-in greeting, peace be upon you, that every Muslim gives to every other Muslim alone creates an instant human bond. Doesn't matter your race, your background, your income. You could walk into a mosque in London, New York, or Paris, and you're treated like a brother or sister in faith. That kind of unity, it's rare. And people who've never had that before, they feel it right away. And here's something else that hits hard. The Muslim community prioritizes togetherness. Islam doesn't just encourage community, it requires it. The Friday congregational prayer isn't optional. It's a weekly gathering where people check in with each other. It's not just prayer, it's connection. You're shoulder to shoulder with people from all walks of life, facing the same direction, praying to the same God. There's no VIP section. Everyone stands equal. And that physical reminder that we are one is deeply grounding. During Ramadan, this sense of togetherness multiplies. Every night, communities come together to break their fast. Mosques overflow with people. Strangers pass out dates and water. Families open their homes to guests. And if you're alone, you won't stay that way for long. Someone will notice. Someone will invite you in. That's the culture. That's the default. Now imagine you're someone who has felt invisible most of your life, someone who's never been part of something bigger, and suddenly you find yourself welcomed into a global family of 2 billion people, not just in name, but in action. You're seen, you're valued, you matter. That kind of belonging changes lives. Even beyond the rituals, the Muslim community emphasizes service. There's a constant push to help others, whether it's through charity, volunteering, or just showing up for someone in need. And when you give back like that, it doesn't just help the person you're serving, it heals something in you too. It builds self-worth. It builds connection. It reminds you that you're not alone. And let's not ignore the emotional and mental health side of this. Studies have shown that having a strong, supportive community directly reduces anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. Islam provides that. Converts often say it's the first time they've had a network that really cared, not for what they do, but for who they are. So when people ask why are so many in the West turning to Islam, this is one of the biggest reasons, because in a world full of division, Islam offers unity. In a society drowning in individualism, Islam says, you belong here. And for many people, that's not just compelling, it's life-changing. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention, how confusing religion has become for a lot of people in the West. For many, it feels like belief is this big, complicated puzzle. Contradictions in scripture, shifting moral stances, unclear theology, historical edits, and unanswered questions. And when you're genuinely looking for truth, that confusion becomes exhausting. You start to wonder, is there anything out there that just makes sense, that doesn't change every few decades, that has one message, one system, one God? That's where Islam steps in. And this is a huge reason it's growing so fast in the West, because it's not just spiritual. It's clear. The theology is simple, unchanging, and deeply logical. Islam teaches that there is only one God, no partners, no intermediaries, no divine family tree, just one creator, one message, one book. For people coming from backgrounds where belief feels like trying to solve a riddle, this kind of clarity is incredibly refreshing. Now let's get specific. In Islam, God is not portrayed as part of his creation. He's not human, he's not born, he doesn't die, he doesn't have a physical form. That alone is a huge shift for many people coming from religions where God is often represented through images, idols, or incarnations. Islam draws a firm line. God is beyond human limitation. He is all-knowing, all-powerful, and completely unique. That level of precision in theology attracts thinkers, people who want a belief system that doesn't just feel good, but makes sense intellectually. And here's what's remarkable. The core message of Islam has never changed. From the time of Prophet Muhammad over 1400 years ago, the same words, the same book, the Quran, have been preserved letter for letter, no additions, no revisions, no re-edits for modern culture. In a world where almost everything is up for debate, that kind of consistency stands out. The Quran itself invites this kind of investigation. It doesn't say just believe. It says reflect, ponder, question. We'll find verses where God is literally challenging the reader. Do they not reflect on the Quran? That's the tone. It's not about blind obedience. It's about conscious understanding. That's what appeals to so many people in the West who are skeptical by nature. They're not looking for tradition, they're looking for truth. And Islam gives them permission to think deeply and critically about it. This is why so many converts will tell you, I wasn't looking for religion, I was looking for answers. And they found those answers not through emotion or pressure, but through study. They read the Quran. They researched the life of the Prophet. They asked the tough questions. And what they discovered was a belief system that holds up under scrutiny, not just spiritually, but intellectually, morally, and scientifically. And let's talk about daily life. Islam doesn't just give you a belief, it gives you a blueprint. It tells you how to treat your parents, how to handle money, how to build relationships, how to purify your heart. It covers the whole spectrum of human experience, not in a controlling way, but in a way that says, here is the path if you want peace. There's no guessing, no picking and choosing based on trends. It's all there, clear and preserved. So when someone embraces Islam, they often describe it as a moment of alignment, like something inside of them just clicked. Not because they were forced to believe, but because finally they found something that made sense, that answered their questions, that didn't change with the times or bend to culture, just pure, unshaken, timeless clarity. That's why Islam isn't just surviving in the West, it's thriving, because in a world full of noise, it offers something rare, truth that speaks clearly. Let's just be real for a second. People in the West are hitting a wall. There's a growing sense that something isn't working. You've got more technology than ever, more freedom, more choices, more entertainment, more stuff, and yet anxiety is rising. Depression is skyrocketing. People are medicating, numbing, distracting, but they're not satisfied. They're not at peace. Because what the culture promised would bring fulfillment, success, independence, material wealth, pleasure, isn't delivering. And deep down, people feel it. That's the disillusionment. That's the silent crisis. Western culture has built its identity around individualism. You do you. Live your truth. Chase your dreams. And sure, on paper, that sounds empowering, but when you're the only one responsible for defining meaning in your life, it becomes overwhelming. When you're constantly comparing yourself to filtered versions of other people's lives on social media, it becomes exhausting. The pressure to be productive, to be attractive, to be successful, it's nonstop. People are burning out trying to live their best life, and many are quietly asking, what's the point of all this? That's where Islam enters the picture, not as a trend or an escape, but as a real alternative. Islam doesn't tell you to define your own truth. It gives you a truth that's been tested and preserved for over 1,400 years. It doesn't ask you to chase the next big thing. It asks you to slow down, reflect, and connect to your Creator. And for people who've been trapped in the cycle of consuming, scrolling, and comparing, that's not just appealing. It's liberating. Islam flips the script. Instead of chasing status, it asks you to chase sincerity. Instead of worshiping your desires, it teaches discipline and self-control. Instead of finding meaning through external success, it teaches that true peace comes through submission to the one who created you. That message lands differently when everything else has failed to satisfy. And here's something important. Islam doesn't promise a perfect life. It doesn't sell some fantasy of constant happiness. What it offers is purpose. And that's exactly what so many people in the West are starving for. Not more comfort, not more dopamine hits. Purpose, a reason to wake up, a reason to suffer, a reason to live with intention. Islam provides that with clarity and depth. You see, a lot of converts to Islam in the West say the same thing. I had everything. I had the job, the apartment, the friends, the parties, but I still felt empty. They weren't lacking things, they were lacking direction. And when they encountered Islam, they found something that cut through all the noise. A faith that wasn't based on trends or politics, a system of life that gave structure, meaning, and dignity. Something that finally made sense in a world that often doesn't. And here's what makes it even more powerful. Islam doesn't just address your spiritual side. It integrates every part of your life. It gives you a schedule. It gives you moral boundaries. It gives you financial ethics, relationship advice, even emotional discipline. And that's exactly what people are looking for right now. A life that's not chaotic, but whole. A life where your soul, your habits, and your values are aligned. So yes, the culture is loud, it's flashy, but it's also wearing people down. And that's why Islam is growing, not because it's easy, but because it's real. It offers clarity in place of confusion, structure instead of chaos, purpose over pleasure. And when everything else has failed to bring peace, people are turning to what actually works. That's not hype, that's reality. Where people change beliefs like they change outfits. There's something powerful about a person who knows who they are and sticks with it. Muslims pray 5 times a day, fast for an entire month, wear modest clothes year-round, and follow the same ethical rules, whether it's easy or not. That kind of consistency builds trust, and trust builds influence. So when someone in the West sees that a person who's rooted, focused, disciplined, principled, they start asking, what do they have that I don't? And when they dig deeper and discover that it all comes from Islam, from submission to one God, from living with purpose, they start wondering if maybe, just maybe, that could work for them too. That's how Islam is growing, not just through books or sermons, but through living, breathing examples of resilience. Every Muslim who stands firm in their identity plants a seed in someone else's mind, a seed that says, you don't have to follow the crowd. You don't have to compromise your values. You can be different and be proud of it. That message is spreading, and it's changing lives. So here's the truth. Islam is not spreading in the West because of force, fame, or flash. It's spreading because people are waking up. They're realizing that what the world told them would make them happy, status, success, likes, comfort, isn't enough. They're searching for meaning, structure, and purpose. And when they encounter Islam, they don't just find a religion, they find answers. They find a faith that offers community in an age of loneliness, a belief system that is clear, consistent, and built on reason, a culture of resilience where identity isn't something you have to apologize for. They see people living with discipline, praying with intention, and holding on to their values while the world lets go of theirs. And all of that, it makes people curious. It makes them question. It makes them explore. And when they do, they discover that Islam speaks not just to their mind, but to their soul. That's why it's the fastest growing religion in the West. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. The world is changing, people are waking up, and Islam is standing tall, unapologetic, unchanging, and unbelievably relevant. Thank you.
The world embracing Islam.